Happy Friday, friends. I have a book recommendation for you. I also have another thing I'm going to share with you. I just thought of it. Okay, here we go. It's probably backwards. Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. Have you heard of this book? I've been seeing it pop up, and I ordered it secondhand, and I've been reading it. I'm trying to be more intentional around my mindset work, around consuming things that kind of drown out my own doubt or mean girl self-talk, because even though I've been doing this for a really long time, and when I say doing this, I mean being on my journey, I still have to work on it. So if you're feeling discouraged or you feel like there's something wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you. This is just part of the process. And so we not only are working on our how we move our bodies and how we see our bodies in the now, and also our nutrition, making sure that we're fueling ourselves and eating like we love ourselves. We're tweaking our nutrition. If you're doing something that you hate that feels just like all consuming, it's okay to try something different. It's also okay to mess up a little. I just had a conversation with one of the gals in here who is doing an ultimate reset, and this is not her first time. She's done it before, had really awesome results. If you don't know what the ultimate reset is, it is a pretty hardcore 21-day reset. It's a nutritional reset. It's kind of a cleanse. You eat very clean, and there's a lot of prep that's involved, but it's also a really amazing program. You don't work out while you do it. You allow your body to heal. And I just think it's super powerful. But she said something about being afraid she was going to mess it up. She had to do it right. And I think a lot of us get stuck on that track where we think it has to be perfect. We think it needs to be right. We feel like we have to consume all the information, or we have to do homework instead of just trying. And this applies to so many different areas of our life. You have my permission, not that you need it, but sometimes I think we kind of need someone outside of us to say, it's okay for it to not be perfect. It's okay for you not to be an expert. It's okay if you suck a little, or you get off track, or you mess this up. The only way you actually ever fail is when you completely quit and just stop doing anything. This whole journey that we're on, you guys, it's about being imperfect. It's about figuring it out as you go. It's about messing up and seeing what the lesson is in it, and then just kind of realigning. You never, ever, ever have to go back to day one. You don't have to say, well, let's try again. It's not about trying again. It's not about getting back on track. Even I say those things, but it's truly not about that. It is about you being a work in progress and realigning as many times as it takes. And some of us have to have, for me, sometimes I have to frame it as I need a fresh start, or I need to begin again, but we've never actually quit. And if you have quit, if you are listening to this and you're like, well, I did, I stopped doing anything. Guess what? That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything more than you're going to assign to it. And that means you don't have to create some huge story. You don't have to come up with a brand new plan, start to finish. You can just pick back up where you left off. Even if it's been a month or 2 months, you can simply start again, do the thing, do the next right thing without it having to be this huge production where you make yourself a whole bunch of promises. I'm guilty of that, making it way bigger and more complicated than it needs to be. And I just want to be a bug in your ear today and remind you that wherever you're at is where you need to be. And if you're not feeling proud, the way to feel proud is to take some action. Okay? So this book, You Can Heal Your Life. This is what I'm choosing to read and not listen to. Certain books I prefer to listen to, but this one I am intentionally sitting with it almost every day and just taking time to chew through a couple pages at a time. But I read this today and it really resonated. So I'm going to share it because some of you need it. Okay. So she's talking about how we have to identify the stories in our life that were assigned to us. Sometimes it comes from a parent or a sibling or a spouse or a teacher or a friend or an acquaintance or just some troll on the internet. And we give it way too much credence and it becomes part of our story, and we start to regurgitate it and think about it, which is why doing this work is so freaking important, especially when our own self-talk is not life-giving. So she talks about how if you believe it, it seems true. We've talked about this a lot, right? Our brains believe what we constantly reinforce. And so you can trick it. You can trick your brain. You can change your story at any point, and it will take time, but it's time and effort worth showing up for, right? So she says, if we want a joyous life, we must think joyous thoughts. If we want a prosperous life, we must think prosperous thoughts. If we want a loving life, we must think loving thoughts. Whatever we send out mentally or verbally will come back to us in like form. So what thoughts are you thinking today? What thoughts are you giving life to? What thoughts are you replaying in your head? And what do you need to edit? What do you need to realign? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to reinvent? Just because something might have been true once upon a time doesn't mean it's true now. It doesn't mean you have to go through life with that, you're being your forever story. You're the author of your life. You get to reinvent. You get to say, that doesn't serve me, or that doesn't feel good, or that doesn't give me life. And instead, I'm going to pivot. And it's not about having a huge pivot. It's about making little intentional choices. That thought isn't serving me. That thought doesn't make me feel proud today. That thought does not make me feel good. And what will make me feel good? How can I hype girl my journey? How can I spin it? How can I collect proof? How can I slightly change my filter? This is never all or nothing. This isn't having to go super deep or super huge. This is just consistency, compounding. This is the next right thing. This is changing the story you've been saying if it's not serving you, and just being aware. Self-awareness is freaking key, okay? So I know I keep saying this. It's been a rough go with the tonsillectomy. I am gonna get off here and I'm gonna dive into my messenger. So if you're in there waiting for me, thank you for being patient. I appreciate you. I'm coming for you. If you haven't heard from me in an hour or so, message me, and I wanna be here. So you can always text me as well. My number, I'm not gonna give that here because I upload this to YouTube and who knows who watches me over there. But I'm here. I'm not perfect. I'm in the journey alongside you, and it's messy and sometimes not linear, and that can be discouraging. And we can choose to focus on that, focus on the fact that it's not unfolding the way we want it to, or instead we can be the author of our story, the hero in our freaking life, and say, I'm going to give myself grace, and I'm just going to do the next right thing, and I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to change the way I think by consuming information that serves me, right? That's what this is about. Tiny shifts compounded, and just choosing to be proud as you go.